So what's new in Revit 2024 RST, which sort of stands for Revit Structural. So I've sort of got a very structural focus. So I'm really focusing on the structural ones. We do have an architecture and an MEP one as well. So do keep your eye out for them. I believe the architecture one has finished, was on earlier. So you can get a hold of the recording if you visit our website or whatever. Bin Zero. So we've now been acquired by a French company. So we are part of the Arcance group. We foster innovation and we deliver both software and hardware solutions, consulting, training, development, and also managed services and content, etc. We have become a trusted advisor to to all of our customers through our service offering and expertise and high levels of customer service. So we are the technology company of choice for many companies. We are now that we're part of the Arcance group, we are actually the largest Autodesk reseller globally. I'm Ben Burns. I'm the structural technical lead. Really focused on that business workflow transformation, particularly in getting companies from CAD to Revit, and then also starting to use coordination software, cloud software, Autodesk Construction Cloud, etc. Software implementation. 25 years in the structural and consulting engineering industry, focusing really on industrial, well, everything really, commercial infrastructure, high density resi, and also design and that construction documentation. I have been using Revit since 2010, and I do have the Structural Engineering Associate Diploma, and I do presentations in the industry. The key themes, as these, to be honest, haven't really changed. They're always really focused on your design productivity, simulation and analysis, which is probably a little bit underused in Revit from that structural analysis point of view. But it does have that, and it's had a lot of improvements in that in the last couple of years. Interoperability, so particularly amongst all the Autodesk softwares, they now have that AEC collection. So really focused on having that one ring to rule them all, like where you can use Revit, Navisworks, Advanced Steel, etc., to really go through the whole workflow from design to fabrication. Cloud and data, design optimization, etc., and also your efficiency in documentation. So just making it easier to get your drawings out faster. New features and enhancement. I'm not going to sit here and read all this out. Do feel free to look through the recording later to sort of see exactly what they are. Probably my insight, there's probably like 5 main takeaways that I really love. So the dark theme, I don't mind it, to be honest. I've probably been using Revit so long, I'm probably pretty well adjusted to the light screen, like in the light theme. So I'll probably stick with the light theme, to be honest, but you can go to like the dark theme now and make it look more like AutoCAD. The insights in Revit is quite good as well. So that's where it will sort of track what you're doing, and it will actually go, well, okay, you're spending so much time making scope boxes. Maybe you should look at these automation tools, etc., to try and make life a little bit easier for you. It has better tie-in to Revit to Twinmotion, which actually came out last year. So it does have a bit of better tie-in with that, and it works a little bit better. It does have a textures visual style as well. One of the main things is the site design. So we're now introducing in 2024 topo solids, which is a great feature. Now we're not really just dealing with those surfaces and then trying to have to put in cross sections, etc. We now have a fully modeled topo solid, which you can cut out shapes of, etc. It actually does real well in measuring those cut and fills as well now, so you can really get those volumes out accurately. Yeah, plenty of stuff there. Simulation analysis, so a lot really to do. Again, I won't really touch too much on that. A lot of improvements in the MEP, like all your loading and stuff like that. Also the a really big focus on the energy and sort of sun settings and stuff like that. So a lot of that Naviz stuff and stuff, which I don't really go into too much. And cloud data, so it works better with models, etc. You can actually point snaps for those coordination models and stuff like that. Dynamo has improved again. It always does. It's open source software. It's pretty fluid. The steel connections are better than they have been before. And a lot of improvements in the reinforcement as well. So a lot of those bar bending, etc. can now be added in. Going into a little bit more detail. So this is what I was touching on about those insights in Revit Home. So on the Home tab, or not, it's not a tab, on the home screen, you can really get those personalized insights on what you're doing. You can see there, it shows a little graph of, okay, you spend, 20% of your time doing model stuff. And so it really tries to improve your knowledge as well. One thing that I love in the new Revit is they've actually got new sample projects, and the new sample projects really show a lot of best practices, and they do have a lot of learning resources in the actual sample projects. So I definitely recommend checking them out. The dark theme. So as you can see there on that little screenshot, you can pretty much make it look like AutoCAD, which, to be honest, is probably a lot better on your eyes than the stark white. Sometimes I change it to gray, like have a very light gray in it. But yeah, the dark theme's quite good. Probably should have been something they had 5 years ago, to be honest. I probably would prefer it, but I'm probably a bit too set in my ways to go for it. But yes, it does have the dark theme. So I think that's a great, and to be honest, it's probably about time. They've modernized the icons as well, which when you do open 2024, it's one of the first things you notice. You go, well, this looks a little bit different. All the icons have sort of just changed very subtly, but it does look a fair bit different. It's a lot more modernized, as they say. Yep. New sample model. So this is what I was just talking about. So the new sample model and project templates. So they do have that multidisciplinary data set. So you've got an architectural data set, a structural data set, all based on the same project. As you can see there, it's quite a good little, sort of infill site, which does actually have some existing facades and stuff like that, and a new bit. It's even got a point cloud in there. So it's a real good, I love it, to be honest, the sample project in there. I'm still exploring some stuff in it. It's great. It's sort of got everything in there, and really like some best practices and stuff like that. So yeah, it's got the full set of documentation and guided tour, and it does have the imperial and metric templates as well. And like it says here, it does sort of allow you to discover that best-in-class BIM practices. There's no hiding in view, for instance. It's a very sort of well done project. Of course, people do have some slightly different ways of doing things, but it does really show those best practices. The Modernized Project Browser with new search. So it does have the search at the top, which is a little bit more accessible. For those of you that are quite familiar with Revit, I'm sure we all know how to right click and search, but I think it used to be almost like a hidden little feature. You'd sort of show it to people and they weren't aware of it. Where now it sort of does have that really at the top. And if you're not using a search in it, use it now. It does make life easier, particularly when you're looking. I always find it's useful for when you're looking for the embedded families that are sort of in the title blocks or the title or the view titles themselves. If you're trying to look for that exact family name to then go in and change the font or whatever, that's where you really use it. So the search feature is really good. Site design topo solids. So this is one of the major improvements. There's no more building pads. So for those of you that have always had that frustration with building pads and trying to do surfaces and, using surfaces instead of solids, the topo solids is one of the main improvements. As you may or may not be aware, there is a hack if you do have that. You can't now do building pads anymore. That feature has been turned off now with the topo solid feature. But you can always, if you do have an old project, you can always bring that in or use that, and you can always create similar to sort of hack that. So you can still create a building pad, but with the new topo solids, you wouldn't need to. Do reach out. We do have a bit of a white paper on how to use topo solids and how to really get that benefit from them. It's much better. It takes a little bit of getting used to. It just works like a normal mass, I suppose. It's a great new feature. Topo solids properties works very similar to walls. So you can see there, you can actually put in the grass layer, you can put in your gravel, then you can put in your earth, and then you can start to cut through that. You can draw sections and it will show that as well. So you can build that compound type topo solid with that layered structure. And you do get the slope, the volume, etc. It's probably on the next slide, I think, where it more goes into the cut and splitting of these solids. So as you put in your tunnel or your cut, so as I was saying, the building pads are now retired, but you can still edit the boundaries of it. And you can cut it with the walls, floors, structural foundations, etc. And you can still use the split tool, similar to what we did do with surfaces, to then separate that into the separate elements. Graded regions. So this is, again, just so it's all really to do with that topo solid stuff. But you can see you can actually calculate and report those cut and fill volumes out. Again, this is like a bit of an American data set, so it's all in cubic feet, but you do get those net cut and fills and etc. So real useful for that. We also have the control points. So you can see, similar to a surface, a topo surface, you can, well, it probably is more comparable to editing the sub-elements on a slab. So it works quite well with that, and ties all that in. So you can control those points. Yeah, they are off by default, but yes, you can turn them on and adjust them, etc. Yep, car parking handrails, etc. So you can sort of see how it's getting out, and you can get a more, not, I wouldn't say it's cleaner, but you can get a very accurate view of what's happening with your groundwork. So this is great if you do a lot of landscaping stuff and that. I know that we're more structural guys, but when I did tunneling for Metro Martin Place, like this would have been great. We really had to sort of make a lot of, or not make it up, but we had to use a lot of workarounds, where now, like with the topo solids, you can sort of deal with it a lot better. The rebar. So that's improved a lot. You say you now have, you can choose your bar alignment options with the freeform, and you've actually got the alignment parameter now. And yeah, it's just, it really just makes it a bit more, some of the clunkiness is being removed. It's always being refined, and it works a lot cleaner in 2024. The same as the stirrup orientation, so you can easily toggle those stirrups. Makes it quite easy to get all that rebar in. But one of the more important features with it, which it didn't actually go into there, I've hopefully got another slide later. I didn't get that. It's more your bending shapes and all that, etc. It works very well. Height parameter on scope boxes. So if you are sort of using Dynamo as well, you can start to even set the height of the scope boxes now. So where before it was like the old the cube that you just stretched up the points, now you can really put in that height, so you can make it a lot more accurate and amend that easier. This is a very minor one. I'm probably talking through it's too much, but basically they've changed when you add in the project parameters. They're now done alphabetically and not by the order you created them in. Again, a small fix, but a welcome fix. You can export the family type parameter, so that does make it a bit easier for those type catalogs, etc., to get that type parameter in there. Analytical loads. So the loads can be applied a lot better. You can see how there's a lot more features with the line loads, area loads, etc., and the real position point where you can point it a lot better. So you can point those loads anywhere. So it's really tying in more, making that cross between your engineering software and this a lot easier, where you can now, you know what I mean? Before it was always a bit clunky. When now it's really getting to that useful point where we can actually specify exactly where those point loads are going on. You can color code those loads. We all remember our load drawings, so we can now color code them. Yes, we can change, which we were able to do before, but now you can sort of group it and, you know, sort of make it work a little bit better. You can see there how we're changing the points of where those loads are going from the very bottom of the column, and then going exactly to where the bearing point is on that foundation. So it's not going directly through the center of the column. It is going more how the load naturally travels. Detailed results for your automation. So this is where you can create a log of how you're doing your connections, so that you can then use them and create them quicker. and definitely propagate them through the building a lot quicker. Yeah, some stuff on cloud data and the interoperability now. We don't have many more slides to go, so just letting everyone know that, yeah, we're probably, you know, another 5 minutes of slides if you can bear with me. Yeah, so we can link the coordinations directly from Autodocs now. So I'll bring that straight in, 60 file formats, link the models, all the view, and underlay that coordination model. That also allows you to get the properties of those coordination items a lot better as well. So you've got access to the properties of those coordination model objects. You can see how you can click on it, and it's basically giving you all those properties. Of course, you can't change them because it's the coordination model. Point snaps, which are quite useful. So you can snap to that linked geometry in those views. You can see there's a new snap in there, which is snap to coordination models. Even has a nice little hotkey of LM for linked model. Sort of makes sense, I suppose. You can snap to the corners, etc. So really enables you to use those coordination models a little bit better than you used to be able to. Manage links for coordination models. So yes, you do have the coordination model now here under model links, and yes, you could turn off the different items in those links. So yep. And again, you can directly bring that across from Autodesk Docs. Just giving everyone a bit of notice as well. If you do have any questions, do throw them into the question one. We're probably about 5 minutes-ish from the end of the PowerPoint, so I do want to get in and show some stuff. If people have questions, do use the Q&A to try and give me some things you want to see. Otherwise, I'll just show you what I want to show you. So we've got the collaboration cage for the cloud models, so it's gone to a new position here. You can see there where it's path to that, and yeah, so easily where you can easily manage that cloud cache. Probably not a major new feature. Link and import PDF in Revit LT. So for those of you that use LT rather than Revit, one of the benefits we've had in Revit is that, yes, we can link in those PDFs, and you can change the PDF to snappable as well. So you can snap to the end of lines, grids, etc. So always useful. Like most of us with coordination, you know, you always have access to the architectural CAD file at worst. At best, you've probably got access to their Revit link. At worst, you might have their PDF. And in Revit LT, you were not able to link and import those PDFs in. So it is a great feature that we have been using for years in full Revit, but it's just good that they now have that in Revit LT. So it is something that a fair few people have been unaware of, like linking in PDFs, but I have used it in workflows a fair bit, and it's quite effective. Yeah, you can bring items in as well, like markups. So you can bring in marked up PDFs, bring them directly in and sit them under the sheet. And then you've got that sort of one source of truth where you can have the markup PDF linked into the project, and really you're not flipping between two different types of softwares. The robot link has been enhanced as well, so it transfers across a little bit cleaner than it has in the past. Some small improvements, small and welcome improvements. The design optimization. Dynamo, again, like I said, has improved. It did go through a major UI change coming into 2023. So if you have been using 2023, you're probably already aware of sort of the major change that come through with Dynamo there. But yeah, it has brought in further changes where you can bring in the nodes a bit better. So the Watch 3D node is a little bit better, and default font sizes for group styles and things like that. Yeah, so it's just slightly improved, nothing really too major. Has made some updates as well to the Dynamo player with an issue manager, which shows the warnings a little bit better than it used to. It used to, instead of just not working, it will actually show you like what what package isn't working, etc., which one's missing, and a few of the warnings, etc. So it just makes it a little bit more useful. Again, the reason of Dynamo Player is to make it more approachable for people who are not so comfortable in Dynamo. This is probably improving the link and sort of giving a bit more of that further information. But at this point, wouldn't you? You'd probably just open it up in Dynamo and try and fix it. But at least you're getting a bit of an alert what's happening in there. Resizable dialogues, a small change, but very welcome. So on a lot of the ones where we always go, geez, I wish I could make that dialogue a little bit bigger. You can now. So you weren't able to do that before on edit the label and the work plane. Work plane, like, let's be honest, you probably don't really need to stretch that box out. But you could see if you did have a very long save selection name or something in there, yeah, being able to stretch that out makes it a little bit easier. So now it's off across most of the dialogues, where before it wasn't. So it even says there's small improvements that improve your user experience. So the small but welcome improvements. Steel connections. So you really have that detailed and new samples in there. So it is always, apart from if you're going in and making a lot of your own connections, etc., like it does have sort of more samples in there now, which are hopefully covering more of your use cases, which, you know, if you were using them before, I suppose you may have already customized them. But yeah, hopefully it is answering more questions for more people by having those additional samples in there. This is probably a minor one. Yeah, I won't even really worry, but they have done some background security enhancements where it's cutting down the macros and that a bit more. But yeah, probably not really worth worrying about that one. There is some improvements in the API as well. So you can just a few extra ones there. The draw order of 2D elements in 3D families. So before you weren't really able to do that. So I think you can actually change the draw order of those 2D elements in your 3D families. Lastly, just a couple more slides on the documentation efficiency in Revit 2024. So we can place now multiple views and schedules on a sheet. So you can select multiple ones and drag them straight from the project browser or from the select view dialog. Again, something we probably should have had a while. A lot of people are using add-in programs for this as well. But now, yeah, you can drag those sheets on. Remember that you can always duplicate the sheets as well. So once you do set it out, it does also have the aligned to sheet placement as well. So that's the next slide here where you can actually align the views a lot better. So yeah, you can move multiple elements between the sheets while actually keeping your original positions. So this is all your sheet-based elements like views, schedules, detail groups, annotation elements, images, etc. They can be moved and aligned together directly from the sheet drawing area. Open sheet directly from drawing area. So there is now an open sheet. Toggle, again, quite a small improvement, but allows you to open the sheet quite quicker rather than just going across to the other one. So yeah, there is an open sheet command where it will take you into it. Again, you should probably never try and really work in the model space, as we used to call it in AutoCAD. Always do try and work in the actual view rather than the sheet. For obvious reasons. We can schedule in revisions now. So it is something that you will notice. So do check it out. The revisions are now schedulable. So yeah, it does make a little difference in how you're using them. So just be aware if you are using projects from before this, the way that the revisions work is slightly different. So do make sure you do test it and find them. It is an improvement to easily track them, etc. But it is a difference, and it may make some differences to your schedule. So if you do have revisions on your title blocks, as most of us do, you may find that you now need to add a schedule in there to really pick up how it's doing it. It may muck around with your revisions, so just be aware of that, please. Bar bending details on the Rio drawings. So yes, we can get those real bar bending details now, which are important, especially if you're doing some more stringent reinforcement stuff for some items. I should try and shut down that taskbar, but let's not worry about it. Hopefully it's not bleeding on. Yep. So it does put them on the reinforcement drawing. So you can see now you will get those bar bending schedules and lengths. So you can really produce your more reinforcement drawings. And the bending schedules, so you can get them out. Real good. If you're going more to that finite, bar bending details and reinforcement scheduling, you'll find these improvements welcome. You can choose between showing the rebar parameter names or the actual values of the segment lengths. So similar to the images, like the bending details are only visible when the schedule is placed on a sheet. The other one that I was talking about before is, yes, that 2D element draw order in 3D families. So in previous versions, the way 2D elements were displayed was inconsistent, for want of a better word. So they've improved it so that you can display it consistently everywhere. So it was something that people found a bit painful, where depending on the print you did, it just didn't sit right from the project to vector print, etc. Where you can now see that it's been streamlined. So yeah, for all the family categories. So it'll allow you to have that consistent visual appearance. Resize all the schedule rows. So yes, you can now resize all the rows in a schedule based on like placed on a sheet to clearly represent the context. So there's a resize rows parameter, and you can resize all of them and give them the height, etc., and make them all match in very quickly. So just a small little improvement, but again, quite welcome. And that's the end of the slideshow as such. So I will, just before I do give us all the go on to further events to view our upcoming webinars, like I did say, the architectural one I believe was on a couple of days ago. That is available. The recording will be up. This one as well will be recorded. So if you do want to go through any of those slides again, the recording should be up within the week. So do keep your eye out if you do want to pass it on to others or whatever. It will be available on our website link. I believe we do have a YouTube channel as well. So do keep an eye out on that, and you can get the recordings, etc. I will now go into a bit of a live demo. So I do have Revit 2024 here. You can see, like I said, the icons, it's a very subtle change with the icons, but you can tell they're a bit more modern. So but yeah, you do notice the difference when you come across. If I do go to view, this is just, I've just opened up a bare project here. So there's not much in it. I have put a bit of a topo solid in here, which I might have a little look at. While we're here, if anyone does have any questions, any things they really want me to show, please put them into the Q&A at the bottom there. So yeah, if you go under the view tab, you will see here you can change the canvas theme here as well. So if you do set that, that sets basically the background to black. I'd probably find this a bit garish, you know what I mean, having all the title block still in white, but having the display in black. Yeah, if you've come from AutoCAD land, you'd probably find it a bit more easy and a bit more easier to work with. Yes, if you did want to change the actual title, like the UI, the user interface as well. Yeah, if you did come under your options, you can go to your colors, and you can also change the UI theme here. So you can go to a dark theme here for the UI. So you can change that all to dark and apply it, and you'll see how that really changes the whole screen to dark. Pretty easy and simple to do. I think I'm going to stick with the white one though, to be honest. But you can see how it's quite easy to just flip it between the different one. I think once you used it for a little bit, like I'd probably be tempted to go the black, but yeah, I think I'll stick with what it is at the moment. So that's that. Again, the twin motion, just to point that out. So that came in 2023. It does have a bit of better tie-in with that. I have put a topo solid in here. I've only just used the basic one that sort of came from it. So it doesn't actually have any grass levels and stuff on it. It is just, again, under your massing and site tab, and you now have a topo solid here. Again, you can create that yourself from a sketch, or you can create it from the input and your CAD from before. So you do have that there. So that's how you can create it, and create it from an import. I don't actually have an import ready to go. But yeah, if you've got your CAD or your CSV, you can use it and do the layers sort of similar to how you did before. Yeah, creating a topo solid, you'll see it's pretty much the same as just creating a floor. So yes, you do have your normal draw commands here. You can draw that in and place your topo solid. Again, probably not very exciting. I've only put a square solid in there. And I've only got the one type. This is just a basic template, so it doesn't really have much of a type in here. If I did come in and edit the type of that topo solid, this is where I can then start to change the structure. So again, very similar to a wall, you can create the structure. You can then go your grass layers, etc. So you can create those different layers. I'd probably move that up so it's inside the core boundary, and that's where I could have like a 15 or maybe a 50 mil of grass, for instance. So come into the material, and yes, should have grass in here somewhere. Maybe I don't. I don't do enough architectural stuff and landscaping stuff. I'm sure I would have it in my material library somewhere. Yeah. I do also, so just to show those sample projects as well, I do actually have one open here. This is the structural sample project. Yeah, it's now the Snowdown Towers. So yeah, they've got like a few images and stuff like that. It's quite good. They've got like learn about the project, and this is where you can really go, and it'll show you what it's using in the project, and what so it's using the point cloud for the facade, and it's using phasing as well. So it's really got a lot of those little things that you may not be using, and you can use this sample project to really go through and see how they did stuff. One of the things you can notice if you do go to the 3D model, which I've sort of played with a bit of topo solids here, so we can see the 3D model here. You can see, well, let's select something to orbit around it rather than just doing a random orbit. So maybe I'm trying to actually look at the top there. You can see that they've done sort of a bit of a massing at the top here as well. So you can really go in and sort of start to look at how they're, doing the wall members, etc., and things like that. So they have tried in this new sample project to really use a lot of the tools that people probably don't use so much. And it does make it a little bit easier to use and to go through. They've got the generic model there where they've sort of shaped a lot of that out. So yeah, it's pretty good like that. This does have the topo solid in it as well, so you can see this topo solid, which I have copied. Yeah, you can see someone's even put the water in there. I do have a topo solid over here. So again, if I wanted to select that, I can now, similar to when you do a slab, so you can modify the sub elements, and you can come here and preview those points. So if I bring that up, that will show me all the points here. And yes, once you do have those points, you can simply select, and then you can modify those sub elements. So as you go through, you can select a point, for instance, and you do have like where you're measuring it from as well. Now this, there is a metric one as well. You can tell at the moment it's all feet and inches. Don't we love it? But yes, I can change that elevation to be from the current level, or from a survey point, or from the project base point. And then that will change that height accordingly. So I can simply even stretch that up. You'll see as I stretch it up that yes, that the topo solid is changing to reflect that. So that's how you can basically do that as per your normal sort of point definitions. You can see as well, this one does have grassland, and if I go in, you can tell how it's actually got the 3 different layers in here. So it does have that grass layer, as well as a gravel layer, and then the earth layer underneath. So yeah, it's a lot better, a lot more usable. It does take a little bit to get used to, but yeah, you can very easily start to do your tunneling and stuff like that, or if you did have a real cut through it. Possible as well to also subdivide that terrain. So if you wanted to subdivide it, you can just put a line in. I'll just put a rectangle in as such, just for that part of it, and finish. And you can see how to put that subdivision in. I could use this to, it always wants to put it in at a certain height. So you can see how I could quite easily turn that into a road. You can see at the moment it's 1 foot, which yes, is nice and imperial for everyone, isn't it? Let me put that in as 10 inches. And yes, I've got that in there now. And yes, I could, that's another topo solid, which I could easily change to a road. Again, I could edit that sketch, change how I wanted that to view, etc. And drop that in. And so it makes it really easy to do those real landscaping ones, a lot of tools that we've been after for a while. That's probably all I want to really show as part of the live demo. Just that you can see the new search here. Remember that we used to always have to right click and go to the search. Where now it looks like they've actually, well, they haven't, because I'm picking stuff. Yeah, it looks like they've actually taken the search out of your right click tools, which is where it used to be. And now you've just got the search simply at the top. So if you wanted to search for your view titles or a family, etc., if you typed in, you can see how it's taking you to all those annotation symbols where you could now grab those families and change it through there. So it just makes it a lot better. A lot of people were sort of unaware of the search feature in this, so it's now a bit more obvious, which sort of opens it up to people who sort of didn't use it before, make it real useful. Yeah, so that's probably the end of the demonstration and the webinar. Hopefully everyone has enjoyed it. We do have the link to our channel there as well, so I will just sort of bring that across. So this is our VinZero channel. Let me mute it so I'm not listening to myself and 3 times over. So we do have a VinZero channel here, which does have a lot of the webinars and stuff we've done on it. This webinar, if you did just Google search for VinZero, you'd find our channel. That's our channel there. Probably a good idea to subscribe to it, to be honest. And yeah, this video will be up there within the week. And you can also look at the architectural one or any other the webinars we do. Do reach out to our, let me just drag that back across. So do visit our anz.vinzero.com/events to view any of the additional upcoming webinars that we do. We generally try and do them quite often to keep everyone up with the latest developments. And do VinZero think future. Thank you very much for attending. And if you do need any more information, please visit our website or do contact us via our email, info@a2ktechnologies.com.au. Do reach out. Like I said, we do have a white paper on the topo solids and how to use them. So do reach out or reach out to your local A2K VinZero Archance representative to get any further information or assistance. Do download 2024. It's safe for use now. Do get in and be on that cutting edge. There is an update as well. So the latest, like 2024.1 has come out. So that does fix a lot of those little bug fixes. There probably wasn't that many, to be honest. So it is safe to use, and do download it and use the latest one. Yeah, you will need about 33 gig of disk space, which I did find a bit of a struggle with, but yes, you can find it. Thank you very much.